Welcome to Dumb Love. I'm Sally Brooks.
And I'm Jen O'Neill Smith, and this is a podcast about all of the dumb things that we do for love.
Dum 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 dee doo be dum 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 dee doo be dum 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 dee doo be dum wow 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 wow.
So welcome to episode 4.
Welcome.
We did it.
We're back.
Are we going to say we did it every time? Because we did.
We did do it. We did 3 and now we're on 4.
It's amazing how numbers work. I'm excited.
Yes, me too. I know. I'm very excited. The response has been amazing so far for all of our episodes. We've been getting a lot of great feedback, and I'm just really excited to dive into more crazy stories.
I know. I'm excited to tell you my stories today. Should I start with my quickie?
Yes. Which, are we going to do that? Are we saying quickie?
Are we saying? I mean, I feel like it's happening.
We've been doing it. Okay, let's just keep doing it until somebody tells us to stop.
And then we'll be like, oh, okay, we didn't even know.
Whatever you want, we'll do whatever you want.
Just love us. Okay, so my quickie starts the same way that like 80% of stand-up jokes start. With
I know what I look like.
No, that was a guy. No. So my girlfriend broke up with me.
Oh, okay.
And that's the other one. Okay, so this is about 20-year-old Jordan Cardella, and he was heartbroken when his girlfriend left him, and so he was desperate to get her back. So for him, it made perfect sense that the way that he was going to get her back was to have one of his friends shoot him.
What? Yeah. Oh my god. So like, I've heard about people, pretending to like be kidnapped and stuff.
So it's
their lover feels much like the episode that we did where the fake death marriage proposal.
Yes, right. So it's like like you see what it would be like without me, and so he thought she'd see him in pain, and then she'd come visit him in the hospital, and I guess a spark would come back. And,
oh my god, what an idiot!
Yeah, so he decides, Jordan. I mean, he is an idiot, but he's smart on some things. He's like, I can't shoot myself, for good reason, because he's a felon. And so he's like, well, I'm not.
I'll go back to jail if I shoot myself.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not allowed to handle firearms, so obviously I can't shoot myself. So
he's an honest idiot.
He's an honest idiot. I mean, he's a real idiot. So he approaches his friend Anthony Woodall, who says no, but I can hook you up with a guy who can help you out. So Anthony calls his friend Michael Wezek. And Michael is like, yeah, man, I'll totally do that if you give me some pain pills. So you can now, I'm sure you have a picture of what these guys look like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Michael has a shotgun. So he stands about 8 feet away.
A shotgun?
Well, I think they like drove around and tried to find a firearm, like a handgun. They went to a bar and kind of like asked around, like, hey, man, do you have a firearm? And so they couldn't find one. So
all of this energy that they spent looking to shoot this guy in the leg, he could have just like wrote a really nice love letter.
Well, I don't know that he could have.
Or
he doesn't sound like he has the brain power to do that.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. Cleaned your car,
right? Something like some other grand gesture. I mean, sent a robot over like last week. Story last week.
Send a robot.
So Michael has a shotgun. He stands about 8 feet away from Jordan, and he's like, you sure you want me to do this, man? And Jordan asks him to shoot him 3 times in the back.
What the hell? With this shotgun?
Right? And you're like, I think that's going to kill him. But
I'm not even a gun person, and I know that, like, you don't want to be shot with a shotgun.
Right,
in your
and
back
8 feet sounds
times.
like pretty close.
Oh, my God.
So Michael shoots him in the arm. And Jordan is like, shoot me again, man, shoot me again. And Michael says, I'm done, and like walks away.
Like, you're too crazy, man, you're crazy.
Right? I mean, I know I did shot you, like, shoot you once, shame on me. Shoot you twice, I'm not going to do that.
Shot again.
So Michael goes home, and Anthony, who is the first friend, takes Jordan to the hospital. And when he's there, he calls the ex-girlfriend. Anthony calls the ex-girlfriend and is like, Jordan's been shot. You got to come see him. So She seems to be the only smart person in the story because she does not come.
Oh my God.
But you know who does show up?
The police.
Yeah, because he's a shooting victim in a hospital, and that's like they have a duty to call the police.
Oh my God.
So everybody's arrested, and Anthony and Michael and Jordan are all arrested. So Anthony and Michael both end up receiving community service and probation, but
they're all like, this is all your fault, man. Like, as they're picking up trash on the
Right?
highway. They're
Which
like,
is crazy.
Damn it, I should
Like-
have never shot you.
the friend who didn't even shoot him got probation too, like,
Just for being involved.
just for being there, for like
aiding and
soliciting
abetting.
it.
Yeah.
But then Jordan just gets off with like a slap on the wrist. I mean, I guess, and a bullet to the arm.
Bullet. Oh my God.
So the assistant district attorney said, "This has got to be the most phenomenally stupid case I've ever seen. It's unbelievable what happened here." He said that in court.
That's so awesome. I was like sitting here thinking, like, I think this is the dumbest one we've done. I think these guys are the dumbest.
Well, can I tell you like this is just a side note, but like
Yeah.
my favorite part of the story is that while they're waiting the outcome of the case, so like in between like when they've been arrested and like then they're going to like be sentenced, Anthony and Michael, who are the two dumb friends, leave to go deliver pot to someone.
Oh my gosh.
And then that person called the police because the weed they delivered them was actually grass clippings. So I'm like, there's so many dumb people here.
So they called the police and they were like, oh, they sold me.
Grass clippings.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And you're like, I don't think you can call the police
Do
when
that.
you were supposed to get weed. Like that's, and then somehow the prosecutors found out about it. So
Wow.
yeah,
What
there you go.
does it say what town they live in? Because
It's somewhere
let's all go.
in Milwaukee. Yeah, they lived in Milwaukee.
Oh my gosh.
Which I have been. Have you been to Milwaukee? I love Milwaukee. But
Home of the beer?
beer, yeah. The best beer, I hear.
That makes sense. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Do you have a quickie?
Yes, Sally, I do have a quickie. Sally.
Yes, Jen?
Wedding planning time is a magical time.
Is it?
Do you believe that to be true?
Not in my experience.
No, it's not fun. Okay, it's not fun for anyone. But in 2017, a couple from San Antonio, Texas, their names were Vincent and best name ever, ready? Manda Alexander. How do you say that name without going, Manda Alexander? I dare you. So Vincent and Manda Alexander.
Wait, her name's Manda?
Manda, not Amanda, but Manda.
Oh.
And then Alexander. But you can't
Manda
say
Alexander.
Manda Alexander. It has
That's
to
Manda Alexander.
Manda Alexander. They were planning their dream wedding. They agreed on just about everything, except Vincent had one request.
Oh,
He really wanted there to be a clown at their wedding. He really wanted a clown there. He wanted a clown at the cocktail hour specifically to like entertain people, do jokes, and do balloon animals, and I don't know, like squirt people in the face with water with their flowers.
Dude, Joe, I feel like insulted.
Yeah.
That they think that like a clown can just tell jokes like as a stand-up comedian. That's
can't.
That's not like a party trick.
It's not. Clowns don't tell jokes. Clowns are the joke. I'm going to start a clown war. So he said, my wife was pretty against it, but she said if I really wanted to, I could have the clown because she was being very sweet. And, she was like, if that's really what you want.
Like, I mean, this is like, do you want this? Or do you want to have sex ever again? But if it's really what you want, okay.
But he was like, he was like, I could tell she was just being nice and that she didn't really want the clown there. So instead of having the clown at the wedding, what he decided to do was he decided to hire a clown to secretly photobomb their wedding pictures. Like in the background of the wedding picture, have a clown just like popping up back, like in the background. Like a beautiful picture of the gorgeous couple which of course we're going to post this picture
Yes.
on our Instagram, which is at Dumb Love Podcast. But anyway, so there's this beautiful picture of this gorgeous couple. They're very good looking, standing next to this old barn. And then she has no idea that inside the barn, like off to the side with the door open, is just this like evil looking clown.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is
posing
it like
in
a
the
happy
background.
clown?
No, it's an evil clown. And he actually he like reached out to all the local San Antonio clowns to get them to to hire them to do this, but they were all like, this is an art and we're actors and we will have no part in this stupid prank. So he couldn't find like a professional clown, so his brother dressed up in this like evil clown costume, and those like snooty clowns really missed out because this picture ended up going viral. They could have made it. They could have been somebody. So here's the thing, though, he never showed his wife the picture. He kept it a secret for an entire year, and then for their 1-year wedding anniversary, as her gift, he gave her like the wrapped up framed picture. And when she opened it, there's actually a video, you can see it online, of her opening it. Like because everybody videos everything these days.
Right.
So he took a video of it, and she laughed her ass off and thought it was funny, and she thought it was the perfect gift. She said that it explained exactly who her husband is. And they're just like a playful couple. And like this sounds like a dumb story because this guy wanted a clown and then had an evil clown in their pictures. And for a different couple, this could have been
I'm like,
a dumb story.
Awesome, actually.
But for them, right?
Yeah.
It's a real love story in my eyes, because this is like the kind of dumb shit thing that you do with someone who really gets you.
Right.
And it's funny. And they have the same sense of humor, and they could laugh this off. It's a hilarious story. I know some people that would absolutely die if they saw an evil clown.
Right. I was like, he must be
near
younger because did he not grow up in like the era of watching? Did you watch
No,
it on TV?
She's 40. She was 40 when they got married, and I think he's just a little bit older than her. So I'm sure he's like well aware of who Pennywise the clown is.
Yeah, I'm like, because that scarred me as a child, like watching that.
Oh, totally.
The TV show. Yeah.
And I love that he went from like saying I want a clown at the wedding to like making it an evil clown in the picture. They just had to really know each other. Like I remember, sometimes things like that can work, and there are bridezillas, groomzillas, like that would not fly. Right. And I remember with my wedding, I kind of just made my husband put him in charge of the music because, he's good at that. Yeah. But I had like one rule, which was do not play that fucking "Bird is the Word" song. I've always hated that song.
What's it against "Bird is the Word"?
The bird.
Oh, I know the song.
I hate it so much.
It's just such a weird song to hate. I thought you were going to say the Macarena or something.
No, I hate it. I don't know why. I just picture like the movie Birds, like the Hitchcock movie, like birds circling my head in a cartoonish way as this song, like, well, I hate it. And so that was my one rule, is like, do not play that song. But then at our wedding, of course, he not only played the song, but he got like all of his groomsmen to like swarm me like a flock of fucking seagulls during "The Bird is the Word." But it was hilarious, and I laughed about it, and we had a good time, and now like it's kind of a funny memory.
And now it's your song.
Yeah. And now we slow dance to "Bird is the Word." But
bird. Bird is the word. That one.
Yeah. They're gonna play it at my funeral.
Release a flock of doves.
Yes. That'll be a scene. Yeah, flock of doves while "Bird is the Word" plays. That's my dumb story, but I actually really, really love that story, and I think it's
that's a love story. Yeah, I love it. All right, are you ready for my crazy story?
I am always so excited for your crazy story.
Okay, so have you ever, I'm sure you have watched the show Snapped.
Yes.
There was like a period where Ben and I watched it like like it was like almost like we were like he was stealing himself for the time when I eventually snapped and I was like taking notes like but I didn't really watch it very much, but there was like a spinoff called Snapped Killer Couples.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is from one of those. And I also got information from Wikipedia and the New York Times.
Well, there you go. You run the whole spectrum.
Right, like I'm like highbrow, lowbrow. But I'm gonna be honest, it's mostly from Snapped Killer Couples.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's easy to take notes on those because they repeat themselves so many times.
Oh my God.
Like it's in and out of every commercial break, you're like, okay. I don't need you to recap it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a story of Cathy Wood and Gwen Graham. Okay, so when Cathy Wood went to work as a nurse's aide at Alpine Manor Nursing Home in 1986, she was a young married mother to a 6-year-old daughter. She'd met her husband, Kent Wood, at 17 and had gotten pregnant like right away. So she was, they got married. Cathy had a very rough childhood. Like she had a very distant and abusive family. Her father was an alcoholic. And then it turned out that Kent, her husband, was also an alcoholic. So she was pretty unhappy. So,
And she had a type.
huh?
She had a type.
She had a type. Well, I think kind of from what Snapped, she was like she's a very tall woman. And so she was teased a lot as a child, and she kind of just like anybody who showed her affection, she was like, oh. So the first person that she was like involved with was another like a schoolmate, another girl, a schoolmate, when she was like 14 or 15, and she was like the first person who showed any interest in her. And apparently when Cathy's mom found out that she was seeing another girl, she was like, if you see her again, I'll kill her. So the mom was like horrible apparently.
Oh, man.
And but then Kent was like the second person who showed interest.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of like, she didn't have any of that from home. So it's like, any kind of like attention is like,
Yeah.
she's instantly like attracted to it. So,
Aw.
so anyway, so she meets Gwen Graham at Alpine Manor, which is the nursing home. And Gwen they bonded because she had also had a horrible childhood. She grew up on a farm and her father was abusive at a young age. So he was like, I think kids should be exposed to everything on the farm, like slaughtering the animals, like at like 5 or 6. And if there were times when she would refuse, and he would dunk her head in the toilet and flush it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So pretty horrible. Both of them had pretty horrible childhoods. So Gwen and Cathy met and they formed like a quick friendship, and it like very quickly turned romantic. So they had a really intense love affair, like so much so that like within a couple months, Cathy asked for a divorce from Kent and she left. And like she gave him custody of their daughter, and Gwen also broke up with her girlfriend that she'd been seeing, and Gwen and Cathy moved in together. So about 10 months after Cathy left Kent walks this is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, walks into the police department and tells them this crazy story. He says that Cathy had recently come home for a night because like Gwen had kicked him out, and she confessed to him that she and Gwen had killed 5 patients while they were working at Alpine Manor.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So Kent told them that Cathy had said it was all part of like a sick game where they were trying to spell the word murder with the initials of the victims.
What the hell?
Yeah. And so that became like, they didn't end up doing that. And so they made it into a saying. I don't know if I had never heard this saying of like, I love you forever in a day. Have you heard?
Yeah.
So their saying was, I love you forever in 5 days. And so each victim was a day. I know it's
so weird.
right. So this is what Kent said that Cathy told him. So police investigate.
Why would she tell him this?
I don't
sorry,
know. I know.
Okay.
So no, so police investigate and find that like in the period that Kent told them about, there had been an unusual number of deaths at Alpine Manor. So these were elderly patients, and many of them had Alzheimer's. So there are deaths, but all of the deaths that everything was believed to be natural causes. So at this point, like Gwen and Cathy had broken up, and Gwen had moved out of state back to Texas to home with a new girlfriend who was another nurse's aide from Alpine Manor. Her name was Heather. So the police bring Cathy in for questioning, and at first, like they describe her as like talking to her as like talking to like like how do you say ghost? But he was just like she's just like her story is always shifting. She doesn't quite seem to be there. Like she first tells him that it was like a joke. She said, "No, I was just something I told Ken. It was just kind of a messed up joke that I told Ken." But the police lie to her and say like, "No, we have physical evidence." And so then she quickly like changes her story, and she tells them. So she confesses, and she tells them that it was Gwen who had initiated the murders. She said that it started one night when she had walked into a patient's room trying to find Gwen and discovered that Gwen was smothering a woman. Her name was Marguerite Chambers, and she had a washcloth, and she was holding it over her mouth and smothering her. And she said at that point, Gwen told Cathy that it was an act of mercy, that Marguerite had been suffering from Alzheimer's for years, and that this was an act of kindness. Although Marguerite's family says that they had been visiting her the day before and that she had seemed healthy and with it. But they didn't, I mean, she was in a nursing home, she was sick. They were surprised, but they weren't suspicious of this death. So that is what Cathy says was the first thing. And then she says that basically Gwen was like, well, now we have, this is like our bond between us, because now we both have this secret and you can't ever leave me and I can't ever leave you, because if we do, then someone will tell. Like so that is how it all started. And then they decided to do this game. And
that was such a jump.
Right?
It's like,
yes, it's
we can't get out of this, but let's make a game.
Let's keep doing it. And so yeah, Cathy says that the killing was like an aphrodisiac to Gwen, that like after they would do it, that then they would do it.
Oh my God.
And I just have to say, if you ever watched Snapped Killer Couples, like
they always do it after the
reenactment, it's like, it makes it seem like this is this very sexy, steamy affair. There's a lot of like images of these two women making out, and the women who are the actresses are like pretty attractive, and then you look at the pictures of like Gwen and Cathy in real life, and you're like, oh wait, that's
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I always say that if I ever get murdered and the person that plays me is uglier than me, I'm gonna be really pissed. Because like, what did I even die for?
Right.
If I can't get a pretty person to play me.
Or
if I ever murder someone.
Or if you ever murder.
Or if I'm a murderer, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, if you die or murder someone, I'll make that my mission.
Thank
I promise.
you, Sally.
I won't let you get played by an uggo.
That's your promise to me.
That's my friendship promise to you.
That's so sweet.
I'm a hashtag no uggo
No
for Jen.
Uggo murder show.
So the killings keep going. And so Cathy says that during the fifth killing, she says that during all of these, that she never actually killed anyone, that Gwen was the one who did it, and that she just served as a lookout. And she says that during the fifth killing, she intercepted a nurse who was on the way to the room, and that after that, she was like very scared, and she told Gwen that they had to stop. And actually 2 weeks later was when the killings did stop. But not because like Cathy was scared, but because Gwen had found a new girlfriend, which is actually another nurse's aide, Heather Beringer. And apparently they were like, oh, she was like a hot new blonde nurse. And
then you looked up her picture, and
I didn't see her picture, but in the thing, she's like behind a desk, just looking super sexy with like this long blonde 80s hair. It's pretty great. So Gwen and Cathy started having an affair, and Cathy says it broke her heart, but she said, at least the killings stopped. She said, I knew the killings would stop. So detectives gave Cathy a polygraph, and she failed. And like, I know like polygraphs aren't admissible in court. They're infamously unreliable.
Yeah.
You don't know if people are lying or if they're just nervous but But detectives, they see this like she's hiding something. Basically, they think, well, she was probably more involved than she let on. So police decide that it's time to go interview Gwen. And so they fly down to Tyler, Texas, which is where she has been working now in the children's ward of a hospital.
No.
There's nothing.
Oh, good.
It's okay. I'm not. I promise. I think
Yeah.
my promise to you is that I'm never gonna do a story about a kid dying.
Oh, good.
I say that now, but
No, yeah, I can't handle.
I can't handle
those
it.
stories. Yeah,
I can't handle. Yeah, even like TV stories. I'm like, nope, I don't want
I
to see it.
know.
Okay, so they go down and they interview Gwen, and Gwen says that is 100% made up. There were no killings. She is an obsessive psycho. Like she was jealous. She was extremely obsessive, and that she says like our relationship we did have a relationship, but it was mostly physical. But that Cathy was like completely obsessed with her, and she said I didn't do it. I didn't do this. I had nothing to do with this. And so police actually dig up the remains of the patients that that Cathy tells them about, and they find no physical evidence that they were murdered, but that actually isn't because she said they were smothered. That actually isn't like uncommon that they wouldn't find any evidence. So even though there's no physical evidence, the police arrest both Cathy and Gwen, and Gwen maintains her innocence, but Cathy agrees to a plea deal, and she says, and she will testify against Gwen in exchange for like a lesser sentence. So she ends up pleading guilty to 1 count of conspiracy and 1 count of second-degree murder for the killing of the first victim, Marguerite Chambers. So they actually did. I didn't say this, but they actually the first 3 victims were the MUR.
Really?
Yeah, and then I think they were like couldn't find a D, I guess. I don't know. So Cathy is sentenced to 20 years in jail, and she actually came up for parole in 2005, and she has been denied every year that she's come up for parole. And prosecutors basically they strike this deal with her, even though she's confessing to being a serial killer, because they don't have any physical evidence, and so they say, well, if we don't have this, then we have to basically rely on her testimony to try Gwen, because Gwen is pleads not guilty and goes to trial. So in 1989, she goes to trial for the 5 murders. And her defense was basically to say that there were no murders.
Were none.
She's like, there's no physical evidence that these even occurred, so how can you convict me of it? But Cathy Woods takes a stand, and apparently she was like very convincing, saying that like she was manipulated by Gwen, and that she's talks about her background and how she had never had that any attention. She was like very susceptible to somebody giving her attention, which is why she went along with it, and then at the last minute, prosecutors get Heather Beringer, who is the new girlfriend,
The new sexy hot
thing, to testify against Gwen. And she says that Gwen had told her about the murders.
What?
Yeah, so that's what. So she says that. So Gwen.
I was totally at this point. I was already thinking like, oh, Cathy totally made that shit up. That's why she told her husband or her ex-husband.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well.
Oh God.
Okay, so she got 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. So maybe not. So in 1992, this award-winning journalist, Lowell Caulfield, published a true crime book called Forever in 5 Days, and which I would love to read but have not. So he
Audible it, dude.
I'm gonna Audible. I'm gonna library it. I don't.
Oh.
So he basically spins a completely different story from what Cathy told at trial. So he interviews all of these people friends and coworkers who describe Cathy Woods as a coercive and seductive pathological liar who delighted in wreaking havoc. So the book basically gives evidence that Cathy planned the first murder after she found Gwen with another woman and used it as like an insurance policy to keep her with Gwen.
Like with her.
Yes. And when Gwen left anyway, the only reason the book says that Cathy confessed to the crimes was to punish Gwen. And they actually did psychological testing of Gwen, and it revealed that she's like very easily manipulated, and that she actually lacked the sophistication to plan a series of killings, like let alone like defend herself at trial. Like she was like just unable. So, and then the book says that Cathy, while she was in jail, has told inmates 2 versions of what happened. She said one, that she made up the entire story, just as a way to like get back at Gwen. And then she said too that she had actually done all of the killing herself and then framed Gwen for revenge. So, and that is kind of where it stands. Like they are both still in prison. It's thought that Cathy is going to get out of jail in 2021. And Gwen is still maintaining her innocence. She has maintained her innocence this whole time, saying her version is that there are no killings. This never happened.
So what about Heather's testimony against?
I couldn't find anything against why she would say that. I mean, my thought is that maybe these killings did happen, but it's like the flip where like Cathy was the one who planned and did them, and then Gwen was the lookout, and so she did know they happened, or maybe Cathy told her about them. But I don't know, or maybe they were just in it together. It's hard to tell.
Wow.
Snapped killer couples didn't give me any resolve on that.
So Cathy being in jail, the 2 versions that she gave, which were like A, it never happened.
Yeah.
Or B, I planned this whole thing and I framed it. Both make her look. Those to me sound like stories that she would tell in order to like protect herself or paint herself in a certain light,
Like to get street cred in jail?
Yeah. But like if she were to be like, this person framed me and I'm this like weak person that's in jail because of her.
Yeah.
And I was her lookout, then it would just not paint her in a good light in jail.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm just thinking out loud, Sally.
Right.
I'm just taking it all in.
I'm just spitballing here.
Throwing it out here. I don't know. That's crazy because I just don't. Like, yeah, at one point I definitely thought, it's definitely, like, why would Cathy go tell her husband that? That's the dumbest thing. Like, she's obviously setting this person up. But why would Heather testify that she confessed?
That Gwen confessed?
Well, unless she just, like, pissed her off real bad one day. You know? Maybe she did something
Well,
real
apparently
shitty.
at the beginning, Heather wouldn't talk to police. And then as kind of like it got closer to the trial, she agreed. So kind of the last minute, she agreed. So I don't know if it just seemed...
They pressured her to do it, maybe?
Maybe, or maybe she just was like, her conscience got the best of her. I don't know. I mean, that's my sticking point too.
Yeah.
Is that otherwise I'm like, I totally, like everything kind of... brushes like Cathy as this real manipulator.
Yeah.
But except for Cathy herself, she is the one who's saying Gwen did it. But why would the new girlfriend say that she did it? I don't know. It's very interesting.
Wow.
And I thought anyway.
Killer couple.
That's my story. There we go. All right, Jen, please tell me that you have a good love story for me.
I do have a good love story. It's kind of a funny situation because I feel like it's something that, well, it comes from something that I feel like a lot of us have made this mistake before and done this thing. Like, have you ever accidentally texted the wrong person something?
I know that's like a very common thing, and
you just don't make mistakes.
No, it's not that I don't. I just am like really bad at communicating, so I don't text or phone a lot. So it just is.
I'm like notorious for accidentally texting people the wrong shit because at any given moment I have like 10 balls in the air,
right?
Metaphorically, and I'm like carrying on 100 conversations, and so I'm constantly sending people the wrong thing. Like I texted my boss once, like, what do you want for dinner? And he was just like, whatever my wife and I decide to eat, you fucking weirdo. But what's funny, he didn't really say that, but what's funny is like my other boss, who lives in Miami, we pretty much just text each other, because he's in another state. And he accidentally texted me once, like out of the blue. I just got this text. I knew that him and his wife were planning this like romantic trip to Paris, and I got a text from him where he was just like, "Oh, where should we eat while we're in Paris?" And I was like, I don't know, like, like they're all good. And then he was just like, "What should we do while we're in Paris?" And I was like, the Louvre is nice. And then he just kept texting me stuff like, oh, and then like all week long, I just kept getting these text messages like, "We're gonna have the best time in Paris." I'm like, dude, good for you. I'm glad you're gonna have a fun trip. I'll be here running your business for you. Enjoy yourself. No, but really, because he was my boss, I was like, "Well, here's your itinerary, sir." I've circled
You were like researching.
Oh, totally. I was like, I've circled all the best 5-star restaurants within, walking distance to your hotel. And then he finally was like, "Oh my God, I am so, so sorry." Like, he thought he was, because
the whole time he thought he was texting
his wife.
Oh my God.
Because her name is Jessica, and has S as a last. I don't want to give away their whole identity, but it has S as the last
and
name.
His phone number is
Jen Smith. You know how on the top of
oh right, it just says like the initials.
The initials.
Yeah.
So he just saw JS at the top, and so all week long he thought he was just like texting his wife like, "Where should we go? What should we do? Where should we be?" And the whole time I'm like, "I'm not your vacation planner.
Right.
You're being really rude, sir." No, he's actually awesome. His name's Daniel. Shout out. He's a great boss. But please don't fire me. But no, it was just a funny story of like a whole series of fake text messaging. So anyway, this story is about how an accidental text turned into a beautiful love story and actually saved a life.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Maybe I should start texting more.
Maybe you should start, but make sure you're not texting the person you should be texting. You should accidentally text more. Anyway, so in 2012, 52-year-old Casey Berg was on a business trip in Denver, Colorado. When the person she was supposed to meet, their flight got delayed or something, and so she had nothing to do and was bored, so she texted a friend. The text said, "Hey, it's Casey. Maria isn't going to be here on time, and I was wondering if you'd want to hang out." And so she sends out this text message, and then she gets this message back that says, "Sorry, you've got the wrong number, but if I wasn't on my way to work, I'd totally hang out with you." On the other end.
Yeah.
And the person on the other end was 23-year-old Henry Glendening. It's like a weird last name, Glendening. And so they immediately started chatting back and forth.
Yeah.
Like at first it was like, "Oh, so sorry." Stop it.
And then it was like, "Hey, show me your dick."
Yeah. And then, no, it was actually very like spiritual. Like he, apparently he texted her like, "Do you know what you think about the law of attraction? And have you ever read The Secret?" And she was like, "What? I live my life by The Secret." And
I just secreted this.
Totally. And which totally sounds like a conversation that I would have with people. I actually had a conversation last night about The Secret with Paul Ollinger, and he looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, "Oh, did you secret it?" I was like, "What the hell are you?" Anyway.
Oh, I'm always secreting things.
Always secreting things. We secreted this podcast.
We secreted it.
So they were like, "I like The Secret. You like," so they realized that they had a shared interest in spirituality and the law of attraction and energy. So they just became friends.
Yeah.
And they really vibed with each other. And then Glendening Henry, the 23-year-old, he left for a trip to go out west because he was like he was just getting out of an unhappy relationship. He was selling peanut loaves and he hated it, and he just wanted to like go out west and reconnect with the universe. So when he gets it to about Kansas, he comes upon a batch of sunflowers along the highway, and he said that when he saw the sunflowers, that he just completely felt Casey's energy, her spiritual energy was with him.
Okay.
And he said, "I hardly knew her, but I just could feel her radiance. the sunflowers just embodied her, and I wanted to have that with me. So we took a sunflower and put it on his dashboard and like continued his spiritual journey, if you will, across the United States. So then they became friends, and Casey, she had 4 tickets to the ever so popular band Third Eye Blind concert, and so she had a plus.
She was trying to sell them.
Yeah,
because she was like, "Oh, this is a mistake."
They have one song. How does it go? I want something else to give.
Oh,
that one. So much kind of life, baby. That one.
Yeah,
that's the one song. And so she had 4 tickets to Third Eye Blind, and she had a plus one a date that she was bringing, and Henry Glendinning had a plus one that he was bringing, and they both canceled. So the plus ones canceled, so they all decided to go to the concert. Them 2 decided to go to the concert together as friends. This is like my favorite part of the article. So halfway through the concert, he was standing behind her, and he put his hands on his hips, and she says, because she's 30 years older than him.
Oh, I
she's
missed that
53
detail.
And he's 23.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
And this like quote right here just speaks to her age, because she goes, so he put his hands on my hips, and I could have been that woman that said, "Hey, bucko, you don't put your hands on me." But then I was just like, oh, well, this is interesting. It's just like, I just love that quote. It's like, well,
they're like reframes.
I don't hate this.
So let's see where this goes. All right.
So after that, they, became like a couple. Once they like let their guard down, I'm like, oh, I guess like we're, attracted to each other. So they fell madly in love, and then they got married 3 years later in front of a graffiti wall that is one of Henry's favorite spots in St. Louis, which she says that Casey wrote on her Facebook page that the reason that their relationship works is because he is a young soul, and she is a young soul, and he is an old soul. Yeah. So somehow in the middle, they met up. But things got more interesting. So they got married, but in 1995, Casey had a kidney transplant, and this year it started failing, and she needed a new organ. So Henry just happened to be a match. And so right away, like as soon as she was sick, like immediately he was like, "Take my kidney."
Yeah.
And so it's like she didn't even have to ask. So he donated his kidney to her, and they went through the surgery together. I believe it was this April of 2019. And the morning after the transplant surgery, Casey opens her eyes to an enormous bouquet of a dozen sunflowers sitting on the counter in her hospital. And because he thought ahead and he ordered them a few days earlier so they would be there when she woke up.
That's
amazing. And they're still together to this day. They actually have their back and forth text messages that of their meeting.
Right.
They screenshotted it and framed them, and they're like memorialized on the wall of their St. Louis home.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, like cute, but I don't know. Yeah, cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, it's cute.
You were like, I mean, it's kind of tacky, but
not cute. Okay,
no, cute. It's cute.
It just reminds me of like on like my 30th birthday, I had I was pregnant with my first child, and I had a brunch, a big fat birthday brunch, and my husband's best friend, as my gift or whatever, he framed the menu from my birthday brunch and like gave it to me in a and it's like the sweetest, most thoughtful gift, especially from a dude, right? Like that's like such a sweet, thoughtful gift. But I was also like, where am I gonna put this?
You're like, now I have to hang this
menu
up.
And then when people come in, I'm like, oh, that's just a menu from a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore.
It is very presumptuous.
Something you like?
Yeah, it's very presumptuous to give somebody something they have to hang on the walls.
I always say that. And so we also got, I can't remember who gave this to us, so I'm going to feel like a giant dick if they're listening. But we got, which again was very sweet. But for our wedding gift, Zach and I got a framed picture of 2 feet in the sand with a heart that was like, it said Jen and Zach, but like those were not our feet. And we were never in the sand, and we never made that heart.
So you just sent a picture of somebody's feet?
Yes! It was like ginormous, and I just never could find the right place to hang.
Are you still looking?
Feet in the sand. We're still looking for that perfect spot. But so Casey and Henry actually have a blog. So if you want to follow up on their love story, you can follow it up. It's caseyandhenry.com. It's their love story. You can see all of the text messages there. You could see there's like, I don't know if this is in their blog or not, but I did come across in the article, different articles about it, like following their kidney transplant. There's actually like pictures of the kidneys, which like just tell this. I don't.
Yeah, we're not bad.
We get it.
Yeah.
And they also have a Facebook page, so you can follow them on there. So that is my
I love it.
love story. It's cute, right?
It's really sweet because, and you know what's, I think what is nice about it is that it's like you think, I mean, you hear text messaging with like a 23-year-old and you're like, ugh, it's going to be a lot of sexting and gross stuff happening. But like, it's just like actually like people who want to get to know other people and that they found love.
On a spiritual level.
Yeah. I mean, like, if somebody asked me, like, that would make me roll my eyes, but also I find it really nice and endearing. So,
Yeah.
That's a good love story.
I like it.
Okay, should we do our dumb love things this week?
Yes, let's do these things.
Okay, so, I think, so I feel like weird talking about it, but it is out there. I mean, it's out there in that I Facebooked about it. And you know this, that at the beginning of April, I had a miscarriage.
Yes.
And I'm not one of those people who's like, I don't tell everybody my business. Like, I'm actually fairly private, but this is something that I felt like strongly about sharing because I mean, how many women do you know that have had
so many
miscarriage?
It's like never talked about.
1 in 4 women.
Yeah.
And this was actually the second time I've had a miscarriage. So it's like, you know, and it's a horrible thing and people react to it differently. But it's just like it is very dumb how secretive I don't know, I say society, but how secretive it is like because we're told not to tell anybody that we're pregnant for 12 weeks because you don't want people to feel uncomfortable if you do have a miscarriage.
And that's so
and then you're like, but then you feel like you have to keep that a secret as well. So like,
yeah.
Like I ended up telling you because you were one of the few people I told I was pregnant because we were trying to do this podcast and I was like, I'm so sick, I'm pregnant. And then I had to be like, oh, by the way. But so what I have that has started in April, and what I have not shared with many people is that like it has like been kind of an ongoing health issue.
Yeah.
For like until this week, like until last week.
Are you finally feeling better?
I'm finally feeling better,
Oh, good.
and it's like I kind of just wanted to share that because I had never heard of like a miscarriage going on that long, like like just like the health repercussions from it, like lasting like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And I felt like just really not myself, and
oh well, you put on a brave face, I will say, like
well, I'm just, you know, underneath I'm like just a ball of anxiety. But I think that once I like actually started asking people like, is this normal? Does this happen? I have heard from like so many other women that like, oh yeah, that happened to me where like I was like bleeding or whatever for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and like but no, I couldn't find anywhere where it was normal. And so I just want to say like, this can happen a lot of different ways, but if you feel, if you are having a miscarriage and you feel like something isn't right, you should talk to your doctor, because I ended up having to go to my doctor and I did need to have some like further, like I had to like have some like other stuff. She had to like help me out with other stuff. So without getting into details. So, anyway, that was my dumb and good thing. My dumb thing was that it happened and that it's not talked about. And my good thing was that I feel like finally back to normal. So
I'm so happy for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I figure like if we're gonna do this podcast, then we
let's
should be like
be-
real people.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
We're definitely like, we're putting it all out there.
Yeah.
And we're putting ourselves out there. And I think that that's so awesome that you shared that. And I think that even when you talked about on Facebook initially, when you talked about the miscarriage, like people, the reception you got was amazing. And
it was
everyone
amazing.
Was super supportive, and everyone it's just so comforting to know that there are other people going through the same thing that you, and it opens up this just like floodgate of communication of like, now I can talk to you about
like, oh my gosh, I didn't, because it's like, well, I don't want to bum people out. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh, it's such a heavy thing to lay on another person. But then when you like meet someone who's like, oh, I had that too. Like, it's like, oh, okay, we can talk about it and not feel weird. So I mean, I got so many like really nice like messages from women who were like, thank you for saying something. And I'm like, I didn't feel like it was something that I was being brave about. I just felt like, I'm 41 and don't tell anyone. And I feel like in the last couple years, I've just been like, I don't have time for bullshit. I don't have time to be someone that I'm not. And I don't have time to like pretend. And so I don't want to act like, if somebody sees me, act like everything's okay.
Yeah.
Like I just am like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's not. And sometimes we're going through hard things and sometimes things are great. And I just want to be like as authentic as I can. And so that was like kind of part of it. But anyway, okay.
That's awesome.
Do you have something that's like actually fun and dumb and love?
Well, now, see, this is going to be our trend. One of us will do something like very thoughtful and deep, and then the other person will do something really stupid.
Yeah,
and then
perfect.
We'll feel weird about it. So my dumb thing is, this is going to sound so terrible now, following yours.
Follow that, bitch.
Yeah, okay, I'll follow that. God, this is going to sound so bad. Okay, my dumb thing this week is my 6-year-old daughter has a new favorite thing that she likes to do when we go into public restrooms is she likes to make really loud fake poop grunting noises in the stall, like purely just to embarrass me.
Oh my
God.
I feel like she and I would be best friends.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just like, I know she's just going in there to pee or whatever.
Yeah.
Or she'll just even just to mess with me, be like, I really have to go to the bathroom. Like in the middle of dinner.
You're like, do you really?
Yeah. I'm like, God, don't you dare lie to me, Louise. And so, we'll just go in there and she'll just go to town. I can't even do the noises because I will die. But it's super embarrassing and I shake with laughter. And then everyone in the bathroom looks at me like, what the hell is wrong with you and what's wrong with your kid, and like get in there and help her. But I know she's just fucking with me.
Right.
So that's my something dumb, but it is also the thing that I love because
oh my God, I love it so much.
The funniest person I've ever met, and she's 6 years old, and it's just like she has such a weird, sick sense of humor just naturally.
Yeah.
And it's so in sync with what my sense of humor is that like I just feel like she's my person.
Right.
Because I grew her. I mean, I technically own her.
She
but
is my person.
It's just like this weird bond that we have because she's weird exactly in the way that I am.
Yeah.
And gosh, I love her so much for it. I mean, it's just amazing.
Did I tell you about the time when Max, like this is like this along the same, I think this is maybe because we're comedians that we love that somebody is like giving
weird.
a shit. Yeah, like it's just like, that you're like, so Max, that we were at this coffee shop at Banjo Coffee. Have you been there?
Yeah, we went there.
Oh, right, yeah. So
yeah.
we were sitting outside and I get up to go to the bathroom and it's like there's a lot of people around and Max yells at me. He goes, Sally, are you going poop? My son is 3. And he goes, are you going poop? Do you have a stinky butt, Sally? And I and he used my first name, I think, just to embarrass me anymore. And I just was like, that's like a perfect thing.
Oh my God.
To yell when somebody gets up to go to the bathroom. And I just was like, horrified and proud at the same time.
I love it. I mean, if you can't, like, to me, that's the most important thing in family is like making each other laugh.
Yes.
And also, which is what terrifies me though, is that like my kids make me laugh so much, is that's how we got away with murder growing up. Was my mom could not, like, all we had to do was be like, like after we did something terrible, like I would just like a little tap dance and jig and look at her like, and then she would just like
you kids,
shake while trying to hold in her laughter and yell at us at the same time. And I do that all the time. Like so many times I have to pretend that I'm crying because I'm disappointed in them. Because I'm laughing so hard that I'm crying, but I'm just like, no, I'm just really mad at you.
You're laughing. You're like, this is my disappointment face. Okay.
I'm just so embarrassed right now. I have to leave. But really, I'm like dying laughing. So I'm terrible at parenting is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, me too. Totally. Same.
So.
Okay. Well, I think, you know what? I think we nailed it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys tell us, you know.
You tell us if we know.
So if you haven't subscribe, please. Rate and review us. It really helps us a lot. Whatever podcast thing you use. And send us an email. Send us a story about your dumb thing that you do for love. We've gotten a couple that are amazing that we're going to share on future podcasts. But just email us at dumblovepod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, all at Dumb Love Podcast. And
sorry,
no.
And also, even if it's just something that's just like a quick 1-2 sentence, like hilarious thing that you did, and we would love to start sharing those on our Instagram. So if you have any just like little blurbies, send them our way.
Send them to us. We want to hear everything. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We dumb love you.
We dumb love you so hard.
Bye.
Dum 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 dee doo be dum dum.